Alrighty, we will start the City Council Personnel Committee today, Monday, March 29th at 7:03. There is 2 items on the agenda tonight. We'll start off with order number 21-100-8232, communication from Mayor Vigent with the appointment of Robert Gustafson to the Retirement Board for a 3-year term effective the date of council confirmation, which will expire January 31st, 2021. Could I have Mr. Gustafson please step up and have a seat?
Thank you.
Thank you. How are you today?
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Good. All righty, Mr. Gustafson, if you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself and why the Retirement Board.
Sure. Is it permissible to bring this down a little bit or keep it on?
Whatever you feel. Let's just keep it up. Yes, thank you.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
No, I know. Well, safety first here, you know? We have to set a tone.
Right. Well, thank you again for having me. And I think I bring a little bit of a unique situation to be able to serve on the retirement board. Mayor Vigent called me maybe a month or so ago and asked me to consider doing that. And as some of you have known me for a long time, I own a company here in town, Triton Financial, and I've been managing money for individuals and companies for close to 30 years now. And I thought that it would be a great opportunity for me to give back, being a lifelong resident of Marlborough, growing up here, my parents growing up here. And, you know, I do a lot in the community. You know, I served in the Chamber of Commerce as a chair, and I donate to all kinds of worthy causes around the city. But this in particular, I thought was an interesting opportunity because it happens to be right up my alley. So I was interested in the position.
Thank you. We'll open up to committee members. Any questions? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I've known you for a while now, and you definitely have the solid skills to work on something like this. There was a concern that was raised by someone, part of the Marlborough firefighters, and basically he's requesting a delay so that we get some information out before we do the vote. And I would rather get, nothing against you.
Sure.
I'd rather get the information clarified before we actually go to a vote. So I move to postpone this item.
I ask to hold your motion.
I will hold the motion.
Thank
Absolutely.
You. Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to take this opportunity to address the council and the president, the committee. Thank you very much. You know, you have an opportunity right now to make an appointment. That's what your decision-making is at this time. It's either to say, Mr. Gustafson's a good candidate, to keep an eye on our $100 million city pension fund and add a different dynamic to the board, or not. That's your decision-making here today. It's to support my nomination or to not support my nomination. That's really all this decision is about. So there is no outside activity. I could tell you exactly what happened. I think the chairman had talked to me a couple times about letters you might have received from one of the other retirement board members. And but your decision tonight is to support Mr. Gustafson or not support Mr. Gustafson. You've had a number of weeks if you'd like to call and talk to me about the appointment itself.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other questions? Councilor Landers.
Mr. Chairman, I'm certainly ready to vote on this appointment tonight. We are so lucky. We are so lucky to have someone of Mr. Gustafson's background, his knowledge, his interest in the city. You know, not that we're going to lose him if we didn't vote tonight, but I think what we want to show people out there, members of that pay into the retirement board, that we're interested in getting the best candidate possible on that board. And I think Mr. Gustafson, just from his education, his background, his involvement in the community, I think we ought to move on this appointment tonight, Mr. Chairman, and I certainly will support it. We're lucky to have, I guess what I'm saying deep inside, we're lucky to have someone of this caliber. And, you know, what we want is youth. We want some young people to get involved. And I think this is the beginning of Bob being involved in a lot of things, but now he's getting involved in something that's directly, you know, tied into the city, and the retirement certainly is tied in. I could go on and on and on, but that's all I have to say right now, Mr. Chairman. I am ready to vote on this tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Landers. We'll continue to open it up for discussion. I believe Councilor Tenera has a question.
If the Personnel Committee has already spoken, are they all set?
Do you have anything else to add? Thank you.
All right, well, I agree with Councilor Landers. Bob's been a good member of the city. He's involved. He knows what he's talking about. I wholeheartedly, well, I'm not on the committee, so I can't vote, but if I would vote you in tonight. So thank you with that.
Thank you. Before, Mr. President, I would just like to state that being the chair of personnel, I did my due diligence and followed up with the person that wrote this letter. This action to move it forward falls on my shoulders. After reviewing and discussing it with the person that wrote the letter, what it comes down to is that the retirement board had a 2-2 vote. The tiebreaker is the mayor. The mayor appointed who he feels is the best candidate for this position. That is why Mr. Gustafson is before us today. I chose to move ahead with this to see if the personnel committee decides and actually respects the mayor's decision and wants to move forward, which is why we're here. Having said that, I will open up to the president because he has some other words to add.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think you stated it most eloquently. I can go into a lot more detail if the situation arises, but I would totally support Mr. Gustafson as a member of the Retirement Board.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Landers.
So, Mr. Chairman, with great pleasure, I recommend, I make a motion that we appoint him to this position tonight.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any other discussion? Councilor Oram.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know if you were just going to allow the committee to speak or if other councilors could. And again, I agree with the comments made. This meeting is not to discuss the concerns of the makeup of the retirement board. This is to discuss Mr. Gustafson's request to be on the committee as he was requested by the mayor. So indeed, that's all this is about right now. And it appears that from the letter that was written by one of the other members, there was a concern about loyalty. And I'm sure, and if I may ask this of Mr. Gustafson, if a decision ever came up, you have quite a professional background. So I'm very impressed with your background. Would you be able to make a decision based on the fact of neutrality and not on anyone's influence to you?
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's all.
There is a motion on the floor and it has been seconded. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Councilor Tenera.
I just want to clarify, did Councilor Doucette make a motion first, or did you not?
I pulled it
back.
I pulled it back.
He held his
I'm
motion.
sorry, I just want to make clear, make sure we're voting on something that,
I appreciate that. It looks like Councilor Perlman has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and really appreciate Mr. Gustafson's background and everything. I think it's wonderful to have so many people in our community with such skill sets that they can offer. And I know that your appointment is the one before us and not something else. And I'm not a voting member of this committee, but I did just want to note that, I think obviously the other entities and the people are trying to get information, and I know it's been a slower process. And so, before this gets to the full council, I would hope that they would get that information that they need and can provide an update to us so that we're well informed. And I appreciate Chair Dumas doing your due diligence to reach out to the person and get the information that you need. And I think we should invite dialogue for people of the community to let us know, what happening is going on in their board. So Mr. Gustafson, I wish you all the best, and I hope that things work out in your favor. And I just want to make sure that the council stays abreast of the information as we move forward.
Thank you, Councilor Perlman. Councilor Roby, I think you had your hand up, or no? No? Okay. As I said before, there is a motion and second, and is there any last discussion on the item on the agenda? Okay, we will go to a vote. All in favor? 3-0. Approved.
Mr. Chairman, you do need to take a roll call vote.
I do not need to take a roll call. All 3 members of my committee are actually in the chamber.
I thought the rule was still roll call regardless, but I'll leave it up to you.
Councilor Robian, no, the rule is if any members are participating remotely, then a roll call vote is required, but since all members of the Personnel Committee are here in chambers, roll calls are not required.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. It has been approved, 3-0. Thank you, sir. You are all set.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is order number 21-100-8245, communication from Mayor Vigent requesting amendment to the City Code, Chapter 19, Boards and Commissions, Article 6, Youth Commissions. There has been some correspondence from a constituent. I will read the items that is concerning of the constituent as we get to the edited versions in the amendment to the code. Alrighty, having said that, we all have our packets, so we'll go down item by item with the changes. So the first change is 19-44, appointments, terms of office. The concern is that they're reducing the number of seats up to 5 members, both limits the number of perspectives and voices, and the commission constricts the amount of work and projects the commission can reasonably work on and leaves the door open for even fewer commissioners than 5. Because the change here is from 7 to 5 members. So if there's any discussion on this first part.
Mr. Chair?
Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much. Couple of things, just a couple of general things about this this commission. But first is, what is the age range defined by youth? I mean, and I mean that as a technical term, not being facetious. But, what's the age that this is being targeted towards? It's not clear. And through this, I think that's something that needs to be clarified, just in general. And I'm not sure if that can be done today, but we guys can mull on that for a while. Second is, if there is representation of youth, including high schools, right? There's 3 high schools in the city, okay? You got, the high school, AMSA, and Assabet. Ideally, we should have representation from each of those. That's 3, okay? Probably need someone from Recreation Department involved, because they seem to be very busy with youth activities, so that'd be 4. So I think 5 makes it tight, because, and I think that from a logistics perspective, 5 is tight, and I wouldn't mind seeing it 7 and some sort of range, 5 to 7, not just 7, but some sort of range to that, and I'd be willing to make the change from there. Staggered terms are also something that, that's fine. This was originally put in place a while ago, and we were just revisiting it. I think there's, how do we actually make sure this gets kicked off this time, I think is my big question. And the other thing, while we're just on the page, I think one of the changes that would be good is to have the commission vote for their own chair instead of having it being appointed by the mayor. That's the way we work, and many other committees. So, but we can talk about that as well. I'm open into conversation from other councilors. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a change of up to 7 members, correct?
5 to 7.
5 to 7. Any other discussion on this? Councilor Parman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank the mayor's office for, putting forth this reactivation. It's something that I've been working on with them for the last couple of months, and I'm excited to see it come to fruition. I want to support the 7 members that were initially written in here, kind of echoing Councilor Doucette's statements, and specifically as someone who chairs the Cultural Council currently, and we've been trying to continue our appointed members, and we currently have about 5. It really is too little to be able to do some of the projects that a commission can take on, and especially I would love to see some youth representation as well on the commission, and I think that being able to have more members is a positive thing, and I think if we're advertising this and getting the word out, there will be a lot of interest in participating. So similarly, I think the up to 5 limits the number of people who could be on, and 7 would be much better, especially given quorum numbers and making sure there are enough people at meetings. So I would hope that the committee would move to keep the 7 as it currently stands and to reject the change of up to 5.
Thank you. Councilor Landers?
Well, I'm curious, Mr. Chairman. We got this document at the end of last week. I was under the impression that Councilor Perlman and the president sat down and discussed some of this. And I'm not going to put either one of them on the spot, but that was the impression I had. Or did this come out of the mayor's office? The changes that were made on the document, most of them were pretty good. I mean, we could argue 5 to 7 all night. And, I could think of reasons we should have 7, 5. I think the important thing, and what I was hoping we'd accomplish either tonight or the next session, get this commission going again. It's unfortunate that, for 5 years it kind of went away for whatever reason. But I think we need a youth commission. The makeup, I'm not so sure if we need a representative from each high school.
Sure.
They have their own governing body, their student council, and the different groups there. But we need 5, and I'm not using the word adult, but we need at least 5 people that would get this commission up and running, active. Sometimes it's a good idea to have someone from the recreation department, but I'm not sure always if we need that, but we need to be able to, have communications with the recreation department. We have communications with the different schools in town. So what I was hoping, Mr. Chair, and as I say, we can discuss some of these comments, but I think the big thing is to get this commission up and running. Whether we have 5 or 7, I'd be satisfied starting with 5, just that we have a commission that's moving forward, and then probably take us a year to get up and running, and then if they're overburdened, if we need 7, increase it to 7. But this individual that did send us these comments, I think she did a good job. I guess she's a senior at the high school, which is good. Unfortunately, she could be graduating in 2 years, so I'm not so sure. She's probably going on bigger and better things. So, I think she brought up some interesting comments, but we need input from more students, more young people. What was your game plan, to act on this tonight, or
Well, my game plan is to...
have another session and then get it before the full council, or what?
Well, as you mentioned, you would like to get this up and running, so in order to do that, we need to amend this, advertise, vote on it, and then we can get it back up and running. That would be my understanding of the process. So, we have to go through this at some point, so to make sure that's accurate before we can advertise, before we can get the council up and running. Would that be correct? I believe that is my understanding. Mr. Mayor? Do you have something to add? Yeah? Is that correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I wanted to clarify a couple things. I think Councilor Perlman's been looking to get this moved forward. In looking at this, I had discussions with Councilor Perlman, with the president. We had this run by the solicitor just to take a quick look at it. But I was looking to streamline my understanding of what the Youth Commission is about. And it's to identify and find shortfalls that we have in the city for our youth, and how can we backfill those and get programs in the areas that maybe we don't quite have enough in, or don't have sufficient programs in. And I know that I tried an initiative back 7, 8 years ago where I actually had appointments from the schools. There were different students, and we tried a couple of different things, and it just didn't work out. So when Councilor Perlman brought this up and wanted to move forward with it, if we have an opportunity to get some of those students involved to identify these things, I'm all for it. But I also wanted to make it usable. I mean, this ordinance is very, very broad. I mean, if we were to leave the ordinance the way it is and say, okay, follow the ordinance the way it is, I'd be coming to you for a staff person for this committee, because it has a lot of stuff in it. So I wanted to really focus on trying to help the youth and identify some of those areas where we may have some deficiencies. How quickly it happens, that's really up to all of you. What changes you want to make in there, I'm open to any changes. The 7 to 5 thing, we can't find members to boards. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Right.
You want to put up to 7, put up to 7. But it's tough right now to find board members for different boards and commissions. This was one that was also very difficult. When I tried to get the students from the high school involved, first we had seniors. Well, their senior year, they had no interest in going to committee meetings for this. They were in their senior year, looking to enjoy their senior year and the senior activities. So we went to a junior, and it basically had the same thing, because you grab those active kids that are really involved, and they don't have time. So I would hope that we get it going with something, and Councilor Perlman can move forward with trying to get some of those kids involved. So there's no really intent one way or the other than to make this usable and move it forward. So,
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Perlman.
I do have a comment, but I know that Councilor Orem's hand was up before me, and I have already spoken, so I can hold my comment.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to relinquish my hand up until Council Perlman interacts, because I believe the mayor was talking about her project. So I'm going to hold off until Council Perlman's finished.
Okay, I don't want to speak more than others have. Well, I really appreciate the sentiment that the mayor shared, and I was not part of the drafting of this proposal. I had been working kind of behind the scenes with the mayor's office to try to get youth members, and I think a lot of the kind of comments that were made about getting members on committees can be true, but I do think that if we're rebranding this commission to actually be something that's relevant for young people and would be exciting, I know I'm currently in touch with a lot of young people who have been excited by the youth councils that are available in Framingham and other communities. I would really love to be more involved, and I know we have a really robust public internship program in the summer, and now with the upcoming government academy, there are other opportunities for young people to be engaged, and I see this very much in line with that. And so I think some of the changes are really great in helping to streamline some inconsistencies, but there are a couple, and I, Chair Dumas, don't want to kind of go through them since I know you're going kind of line by line, but I would really say that I don't think there'll be an issue getting people on here, and I've spoken to Trish Bernard in the mayor's office and offered to do any type of outreach and support on my own time to help get this up and running, because I think it's important for young people to get to know how to interact with government and to be involved in this commission.
Thank you, Councilor Perlman. I'm going to go over to Councilor Irish. I saw his hand before Councilor Perlman, and then come to you, Councilor Orem.
Okay.
Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to echo what Council Landers said. I believe this committee started back in the 90s, I think, and it is amazing you're trying to fill these seats. And I was very happy for Council Landers, because I agree with them. This is an opportunity to get this committee going again. And I think having 5 seats is a sufficient number to get this started. Because to be honest with you, I just thought this committee, it just wasn't there. And this is an opportunity to get that committee up and running again for the city. and to be able to have an opportunity to get people to fill these seats. So that's my 2 cents, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Irish. Councilor Oram.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And point of order, I see that on our Zoom teams that Marlborough Hospital has arrived. Just so they know, we're discussing the other order at this time. But, Mr. Chair, if I may, I concur with some of the comments that were just made by the mayor as well as by city councilors, and definitely see this as an interaction with the Recreation Commission. In fact, a lot of what youth do involve a lot of the Recreation Commission's projects and so forth, and I think that would be a great interaction. More importantly, we have to work as hard as we can as all city councilors, the mayor's office, to get the youth more involved with city government, get youth more involved with their future. And we're seeing that. There's been a change in the world based on situations that have happened over the past year or two. So with that said, I think this is great to recreate this group. I would challenge every city councilor to find one person to serve on this committee, and you might have 11. You know, and I see it, I'm a Rotarian, I see it in our service clubs. I'm not disagreeing with the mayor. It's hard to find volunteers and keep them. We see that with the Rotary Club. I'm sure the Lions Club sees the same thing, but we continue to promote youth activities. So I'm 100% in support of this. I am in agreement with our constituent's last name is Nazelski, Tristan. I think those comments were well taken, and I'm glad, Mr. Chair, you're taking them up one by one. Since we're on the first one, I would agree that I don't see a problem with 7, and if I have to go find 7 youth leaders because no one else wants to, I'll make that effort, because it is so important, in my view, to have our youth involved. And I used to love when I used to see city government involving youth in our chairs. They would come in for a day and act out being the mayor, act out being city councilors, get them to understand what we do. And I think the more they get introduced, such as with a commission like this, the more involvement you will see. And I don't, well, when you get to the item on removal, I always believe you don't remove someone without cause. I am in support of 7 members. I'm in support of them voting their own chair. Let it be a Democratic. And the other thing I was going to note, we've had discussion on other commissions and committees and paying a stipend. Who knows? Maybe we need to look at a stipend for this group as well. Why should they be any different? And maybe a stipend might, all of a sudden, there might be people waiting in line to go in. But I think the youth would be more than interested in serving on this, even without the money. But again, we should look at that. What's good for one committee, conservation, we discussed them, and other committees, they get stipends. Maybe we have to discuss that too. There is an item down the road about funding this committee for projects, and I'll talk about that at that time. But thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me introduce my views on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Oram. Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think somebody had already asked, but I guess I am curious if there is an age requirement under MGL, and I was reading the statute. It doesn't really say anything, but my understanding when this group was first established, it was adults within the city, and I know since it is a 3-year commitment, it might be difficult to get a students to make a 3-year commitment to this, so it could make it difficult to keep it full. I know this was established as in the code in 1992, and if you look at the list of boards and committees, our last list had somebody who her term expired in 2018. And somebody with one in 2015, and there were 2 vacancies. So this commission always had issues. What it didn't have issues with were getting students to be nominated to get a certificate for their participation. I think that was always something that the members of the commission were successful in getting nominations for that, which was kind of a whole separate part of this. But to me, if you read the responsibilities of this commission, both in Mass General Law, enhance the quality of life for city youth. To me, it's a whole lot more than sports. And it's so it's got a big umbrella to cover. And to me, that umbrella, maybe some youth on it, but the makeup of it really needs to be adults in the community who understand how to enhance the quality of life. It doesn't really give them the ability to enhance. It just talks about make a list of things. And then I guess my concern from always when it existed was, what do you do with that report? Does it just go in a desk drawer, or do you actually act on it? So if we bring this youth commission back, I think hopefully it does do a lot better job maybe than the commissions of the past, not as a insult to them, but I'm not sure that we ever did anything with the reports that we got. I'm not even sure if I remember ever getting a report. So I guess I'm okay with the language if it's up to 7, but that sort of gives the ability for if to not really have them be vacancies, but if the mayor doesn't want to appoint people or if there is no interest, then it's not really vacancies, which currently, or the commission that used to exist always had vacancies. So I know there's a lot of changes in here, and I'm not on the committee, so I think you've got your work cut out for you. I do hope it does get back together, but I guess that's the question that I don't know if the mayor can answer. Is there an age requirement for committees like this? Does it have to be adults, or can it be youth? And is it up to the mayor to then move forward if a youth says, I want to be on it?
The question is there an age restriction or not on committees?
I don't believe there is an age restriction. I think that was one of the concerns the council had when I was sending down high school students back, 7 years ago or 8 years ago. And when I was sending them down, I know there was concern of the council about appointing people under 18 years old, and my feeling was to get a different viewpoint on the committee. It was important. I think the council all, saw the importance of that and decided to support it, and I don't believe there is an age restriction on there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Roby, anything else?
No,
Thank you.
I didn't have anything specific. That one was more the detail.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I think the point here with the Youth Commission is I do hope that this goes beyond, the Recreation Department. Basically, if you're a jock, the Recreation Department is great. If you're not that much of a jock, Recreation Department is not your best friend. We got to come up with other ways to basically, help the youth, find their, what they feel is important in life, enhance their quality. If it's not with sports, with something else, something needs to be done. And I think that that's an important part of providing that type of service. My daughter and a lot of kids in my neighborhood went through Project Summer Adventure years ago, when she was in high school, or grade school. And that was a real big opportunity for kids to go and have fun in the summer and just go on field trips and everything. And maybe this, I'm not sure if that was being covered by the Youth Commission at that time or not, but I think something like that would be something that would expect to be under this type of commission. I think I think your point, just kind of going through and identifying what sort of markups need to happen, is really what we need to do for the next step.
Thank you. So I know that Council Landers and Council Parliament have questions, but I'm probably going to stop and would like to open this up for a motion to table this. We're already over, and I know that Councilor Wagner is extremely excited to have her committee, and we could probably be here for another hour or so debating this, and I do not want to keep other people here when they don't have to be. So if that's okay with my personnel committee to table this.
That was going to be my, that's why I had my hand up.
I believe the phrase is postpone, no longer table. Robert's Rules of Order.
Correct, but yes, postpone.
Yep. Motion to,
Counselor,
Councilor Dumas, if I may, I support the postponing. I just wanted to answer the question that the solicitor did check and people can be appointed under the age of 18. So I just wanted to answer that question.
thank you for that clarification. I will open to motion a postponement.
motion to postpone to the next Personnel Committee meeting.
Thank you. I will second that, and I open for discussion. The discussion that I will open with is that please do your homework if you are actively involved in this. Do not send it to any other parties due to the open meeting law. Keep it to yourself. Bring your materials with you for the next Personnel Committee so we can get into this and have a lively discussion. So it's been motioned and seconded, and all in favor? 1, 2, 3. 3 to postpone until the next Personnel Committee. And I get a
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you. I'll second that. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor? 3-0 adjourned at 7:40.